Hello and welcome to this CRM Sales Pipeline Management Overview webinar. My name is Samantha Garrett and I'm one of the product specialists here at Pegasus Software. This session has been designed to introduce you to and to give you a brief overview of what the Sales Pipeline Management application is all about. So what is it all about? Well, SPM is a contact management tool which allows you to effectively handle relationships with your existing customers, suppliers, but more importantly, your prospects. By prospects, I mean those companies that you haven't yet sold to, however, you still need somewhere central to store all communication and to track correspondence with your prospects to make sure that you do not lose sight of any opportunities in order to help you drive forward your sales. It's all about making sure that leads are not lost on a spreadsheet somewhere or on an email or perhaps in someone's head, but ensuring that they're all logged centrally so that they can be followed up. Of course, the application does a lot more than that by making sure that campaigns or new things that we're trying to bring in new business is working, as there's no point in spending money on adverts, etc. if you're not getting any opportunities or sales back from it. This is where Sales Pipeline can help you. It integrates with your supply chain and financials within Opera 3 so that quotes can be easily generated for your prospects without needing to create a sales ledger record beforehand. You can then track the quote and the opportunity all the way through the sales cycle, and then, once you've won the opportunity, you can easily convert the prospect to a customer, progress the quote through to an order without needing to re-enter any information because it is an integrated solution. So let's go straight over into the software, and what you'll see under the CRM umbrella, you'll notice that we have three applications. We have Sales Pipeline Management, Service Management and Help Desk Management. We're going to be focusing on Sales Pipeline Management in this session. There are separate sessions that you can look at for Service and Help Desk Management, which again also integrates with SPM and your financials and supply chain and allows you to provide effective after-sales care, handles contract and equipment management and provides help desk processing with knowledge-based facilities and also resource scheduling capabilities and much, much more. We're going to flow through the software today and give you one example of how you may want to use this application. But before we start to do that, let's have a quick look at some of the setup. And we're going to start by going into utilities, and I want to point out this sales and purchase ledger upload routine. You can use this routine to populate your sales pipeline with your existing customer and supplier records so it's easy to get up and running with SPM. You'll also notice that we have a spreadsheet import routine. This will allow us to bring in bulk, prospect records. So perhaps if you're buying in data from external agencies, rather than having to key them in individually, you can use the spreadsheet import routine, which will bring them all in together for you. You'll also notice that we have a check for possible duplicates option available on this form as well. This is quite a new enhancement that went in. If you've ticked this option, you'll be presented with a list of possible company and contact duplicates before you physically import the data. You can then choose whether duplicates are to be approved or removed prior to import. This will help keep our contact data accurate. Let's have a quick peek at some of the maintenance items available. So the first thing we're going to look at is what we call user-defined fields. This is where Sales Pipeline Management really comes into its own, because here you can define your own fields. So what sort of information do you want to record against company records, against contact records, and even against your individual opportunity records? You can define whether they are character, numeric or date. You can specify the length of the field, and you can also make them mandatory. Therefore, users that are entering information will be forced to put something into this field before they're able to move on. And you can also create drop-down menus so that users don't have to free type into the fields, and it makes it a lot easier to make sure that your data is consistent. If you are using Service and Help Desk, then you will also have 3 additional levels of user-defined fields that you can create. So you can create user-defined fields against Help Desk records, against contract records, and also against your equipment records as well. The beauty of these fields is that not only does it give you a quick way of customizing the application, but they can also be reported on, analysed and included in any of the advanced searches that you're going to see shortly. Okay, the last thing that I want to point out to you before we start to see the software in action is we're going to very quickly pick up the mail merge templates. You can create and import predefined Word documents that can be used as mail merge templates throughout the CRM applications. So these could be used for perhaps marketing campaigns, emails, quick letters, follow-up letters, absolutely anything. And if you're using service and help desk management, then you can start to use these mail merge templates for things like help desk confirmations, customer feedback forms, absolutely anything. You're going to see these working as we go through the application. Okay, now you may be thinking, well, where do we process from? Well, there are many different ways that you might want to process through sales pipeline management. It all depends on how you take calls, what level you prefer to work from, which really are down to the individual company or the individual user's preferences. So you can choose to process from perhaps a company level, you might want to process perhaps from an individual contacts level, or you might even want to process from the individual sales opportunities level. So let's start by having a look at company processing, and we're going to work from a company level downwards. And you'll notice across the top here with all of these tabs, you can really start to get a feel for the amount of information that you can hold on each of these companies. So on the General tab, we can see the general company information. You'll notice that what I'm looking at here is actually a customer's record. So all of these fields are actually greyed out. That's because this particular company is a customer, therefore they exist within my financials and they have a sales ledger account. So all of the maintenance for this company must be done within my financials. However, if we pick up on a different company, so let's pick up on a prospects record, you'll notice that these are a prospect and these fields are not greyed out and I can edit them. That's because this is a prospect company, we haven't yet sold anything to them, therefore they don't have a sales ledger record. They purely only exist within my sales pipeline. So all of the maintenance for this record will be done within sales pipeline. It's also worth me pointing out that you can also have site addresses as well. So you have two options for how you might want to set up your records within Sales Pipeline. You can either use site addresses for delivery counts, as you can see here, or you might want to have your SPM records duplicating the structure that you have within your sales ledger. So you might want to have separate records for each of your delivery accounts. The Changes tab. This provides you with a read-only audit trail of changes that have been made to this record within Sales Pipeline Management. This can be a very useful piece of information to have, especially when people say, well, actually, no, I didn't change the region from southwest to northeast, as we can see there. You can actually go in very quickly and easily and see who changed it and when. Moving along, the other tab is where you're going to see those user-defined fields that we were talking about earlier on being pulled through. So you'll see this tab on any of the level that we may wish to process from. Contacts displays all of the contacts that we have within this particular company. Again, if this was a customer record, these contacts would be shared with their sales ledger record within the financials. And if I double click into one of my contacts, I can drill down into the individual contacts records so I can see everything that's purely relating to this particular contact here. Moving along, the Activities tab. Within SPM, you can set up as many different activity types as you like. So these could be any type of task that you need to do, so perhaps remembering to send literature out, follow up a quote, phone somebody back, send an email, anything that we need to do. Or maybe we might even want to set up an activity type for internal tasks such as sales meetings, for example. So if we just pick up on somebody else that's got some more data, so we'll go back to our customer. You can see here that I can see all of the tasks that I've got outstanding with this customer. I can filter by date, so when are these tasks due to be done? I can filter by individual activity types. I can ask it to please show me any of the cleared activities, so those that I've already worked through and cleared off. Now, we will look into the activities a little bit later on. However, it is worth me pointing out that you do have various different levels of Outlook integration available throughout the CRM applications. So for each of my different activity types, I can specify the level of Outlook integration that I want, if any. So for example, I might want a particular activity going into my Outlook task list, or perhaps I want certain activities going into my Outlook calendar. Now, in addition to that, if I was creating an activity for a colleague or somebody else within my team, I could set up the Outlook integration to use Outlook meeting requests. So an email would be sent to my colleague that I've set up the activity for, and they can then choose to either accept it, which will then populate their Outlook calendar, or reject the invitation. And of course, there are other areas that integrate with Outlook, such as my contacts calendar, and I can also attach Outlook emails into SPM as well. Any cleared activities will be added into the History tab. So the system will generate an automatic history for us. So anytime we send an email from within the system, we perform a mail merge, we clear an activity down, so we can start to build up a history of everything that's been going on with this particular company. You can also add in your own history as well, so perhaps for telephone conversations or any notes that you might want to put in, and you can also add in your own attachments here as well. You might also want to think about using a document management application, which will allow you to scan in and attach files to various places throughout the CRM applications. Moving back a tab onto the Opportunities tab, this is possibly the most important part of the application, because here we can see all of the opportunities that we have with this company. So these are your individual sales leads. Of course, they can all be reported on, and if I double click to drill down into one of the opportunities, you can see the sort of information that we can record. However, we will go through logging an opportunity from start to finish shortly. Now, help desk, equipment, contracts, and SLA are all relating to the service and help desk applications. However, it is worth noting that if you do have these applications, you'll be able to see any help desk calls, any equipment items that they might have out on site, any contracts that you have with your customer, and you can also see the service level agreement that you may have set up with this particular company. So the idea is that from this view you can see everything in one location relating to this company, and you don't have to go searching through for this information. And last but not least, the Quotes tab. Here we can see any quotes that we've generated for either the customer or the prospect, and again these are shared with our sales order processing. So we can still use our SOP and stock to raise quotes for our prospects, which can then be pushed through into sales order processing when we convert the prospect through to a customer, and we can then pick up the quote and progress it through to an order. Okay, we're going to see all of this working as we go through. So let's take a walk through the system. I'm just going to give you one example of how you might want to use the sales pipeline management application. And we're going to start by creating a referral method. So we're going to go into sales opportunities, we're going to pick up referral method. And by referral method, I mean anything that we're doing to bring in business. So it could be a website, it could be an advert, it could be a particular campaign that we're doing. So by creating these referral methods, we can actually log where we got the opportunities from, so we can see how successful they were. So let's create a new referral method. We're going to call this just a straightforward marketing campaign. I'm going to ask it to automatically generate a new activity for me whenever we log something against this particular referral method. So you'll see this working shortly. And let's save that away. Okay, we're going to do a quick campaign and say that perhaps we're going to offer certain customers an additional 10% discount if they order before the end of the quarter. So next we need to find the customers that we wish to target for this particular campaign. So we're going to go into the Contacts Advanced Search, and you'll notice here that we can search across the individual contact criteria, the individual company criteria. We can also search across all of those user-defined fields that we looked at earlier on, and we also have access to attributes, which again are pulled through from our sales ledger. So let's say that we want to target some companies in a particular region. So we're going to say we're going to target our customers in the northwest and perhaps the northeast. We can restrict this criteria as much as we want, but if we hit display results, we can see that it returns to us all of the contacts that it's found that meets the criteria that we've entered. Of course, if there are contacts here that we don't wish to target, we can simply untick them. And what I might want to do is firstly add them into a group so that we can refer back to them later on. So let's call this my marketing campaign group. The next thing that I want to do is perform a mail merge out to all of these customers. So we're going to use our mail merge templates to send out a letter to each of these contacts, offering them an additional 10% if they order before the end of the quarter. So we can do all of this from working from the Contacts Advanced Search. There are many different places throughout the CRM applications that you can perform mail merges from. I'm only just showing you one way. So we're going to go into Action and we're going to pick up Mail Merge. And here we can see it presents us with a user-friendly wizard that's going to guide us through this process. I'm going to pick up my marketing campaign letter and go through to Next. Do I want to send it straight to printer, to email? Well, I'm going to send it straight out to word processor so that we can see the letters on screen in front of us. And I might want to slightly modify the existing mail merge template, but I'm just going to go through to Next. I've got the attach a copy of the output document to the history entry selected. So what that's going to do is keep a copy of the mail merge against each of my contacts records history. And let's hit finish. So off it goes doing the mail merge for us. And there we can see it's done the mail merge for us. So it's merged all of the names and addresses for us. Very basic templates, I appreciate. But you can start to get the idea of the mail merge that it's performed for me. So if we close that down, we can see the mail merge has completed successfully. We'll say OK. So let's say that we've either emailed a copy of the letters to each of our companies, or we've printed them out and we've sent them off with a brochure to each of our contacts. There's absolutely no point in me sending those letters out if I'm not going to make sure that I'm following them up. So I'm going to go into Action and I'm going to pick up Schedule an Activity. Here we can see the new activity form, and I can select from the activity types that I've got set up within my system. So I'm going to pick a general activity type and we're going to call this, let's say, follow-up prospect. I'm going to overtype the subject to be, let's say, follow-up letters sent. Of course, we can add in any other information within here as well. But what I want to do is make sure that I follow up every one of these letters that I've sent out. So I'm going to click on the multiple contacts button and I'm going to tick the please create a separate activity for each one of the participants. So it's going to do all of the hard work for us and create multiple activities for us. When am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to say I'm going to schedule out some time on, let's say, Tuesday the 3rd at, say, 9:30 to about 11:30. I'm going to leave the priority as high, and we do have various different colours available, so you can start to colour code your activities. I'm going to pop this one in pink. It's scheduled for me, Kevin McAllister, because that's who I'm logged into the system as, but it might be that I want to schedule this activity for somebody else within my organisation. And it's also worth me pointing out that as well as having various different Outlook integration available, we do have lots of different SPM calendars available. So lots of calendars available within the system itself. Do I want to send an email invitation to my contacts? Well, perhaps just to my internal contacts if I was setting it up for somebody else, or to all of my contacts, but I'm just going to save that away. Now, you might have just noticed a quick flash. I've got this particular activity type set up to go into my Outlook as a task. So if I go over into Outlook, there we can see the task that it's just created and added it into my Outlook task list. And if we double click, we can see the details of the task that we've just set up. So let's close the activity down. And there you have it. We've done all of that just from working from one area within the application. Now, of course, I am only showing you one way you might want to perform these types of tasks, but there are lots of different ways that you might want to use the sales pipeline management application. Okay, so moving forward, let's say that we've sent the letters out and now we're ready to follow up each of the letters that we sent. So as an individual user, I might come in the morning, log into Opera 3, and one place that I might want to work from is my record. So this is me, Kevin McAllister, and I can see everything that I've got logged against myself to do. So I could go onto my activities tab and I could say, please show me everything that I've got to do today and future dates. And there we can see all of those tasks that we've just created using the advanced search. So we could start to work through each of the tasks. So we could go into them. This one's for Margaret Benson. So let's say we phoned Margaret Benson back at Hardcastle Biscuits, and she's actually asked us to go through and raise a quote for her. So let's clear this activity down and we'll say Margaret would like a quote. I'll mark this as an ongoing activity and save it away. So now if we tick on show cleared, we can see that the task now appears with a strike through it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually log this as an opportunity into my pipeline. So we're going to go onto the opportunities tab, we're going to create a new opportunity, we're going to log it against Hardcastle Biscuits, and we'll say Margaret is interested in some car accessories. Referral method. Where did we get this opportunity from? Well, I'm going to log it against my marketing campaign. Sales stage. You can set up a simplified or as complicated sales cycle as you so wish. This is purely just demo data that we've got set up here. So we've got a sales cycle going through from initial inquiry through to sent quote, decision pending, lost opportunity, and also sale completed. And we've also set up some closure probabilities against them as well. So if you want to, as you'll see later on, when you run through your reporting, you can choose to report based on adjusted values, but you'll see that working a little bit later. I'm going to move this one straight forward to send quote because we are going to raise a quote in a few moments. We can also add in or store competitor records within sales pipeline management as well. So we've got somewhere we can attach documents, we can keep information against our competitors. And if Margaret was fairly forthcoming, I might say that she's actually been talking to Apollo Cars down the road from us. She's interested in some car accessories, and it's actually Margaret that we've been talking to. Now, it's also worth pointing out that on the fly, in various different places, you can easily add on new site addresses or new contacts. I'm just going to log this opportunity against Margaret. And the only other thing that you need to pop in is a forecasted closure date, because this is what it's actually using for its reporting. So I'm going to say, I think she's quite keen. I'm going to close this by next Wednesday. And let's save that away. Now, automatically, the system is asking me to create a new activity to ensure that I follow this opportunity up. I'm not going to go through creating another activity with you because we've already done that. So let's close that down. And let's go off and raise the quote for Margaret. So onto the quotes tab, we're going to pick up new quote. And here we can see standard sales order processing functionality coming through. So remember that Margaret is actually a prospect, so she's not a customer and she doesn't have a sales ledger record. However, I can still use my sales order processing and stock to create the quote for Margaret. So let's pop in a customer reference. We can see that it's linked through to my sales opportunity. And let's say that Margaret is interested in some car mats. And we'll post that through. And there we can see the quote for Margaret. Now, it might be that I want to print that quote off. So I could either print it off to send it to her, or I might want to email it. So I'm going to print quote. I might want to add on a quotation covering letter, so it'll do a mail merge for me there. And I might actually want to add in an additional document as well, so perhaps specifications, T's and C's, or an advert advertising something else to her. So let's pick up another document to add alongside this one. Now we can see we've got some T's and C information here. And when we say OK, what that's actually doing for us now is condensing those 3 documents down into one PDF. So we can see the covering letter there, which has been mail merged for us. We can then see the actual quotation, and then we can also see the additional document that I added on towards the bottom there as well. If we go back onto the main opportunity tab, we can see that it's pulled through the value from the quotes, and we can also see it's worked out the adjusted value for us based on where we are within our sales stage. Now, it might be that we don't want to use sales order processing or stock to build up our quote, in which case we could use these additional fields here. So we could rename these to be anything we want, so parts or labour, and we can use these to build up 3 different values to give us a total. We have many different customers that use this application in different ways. So some of them won't use them as opportunities per se, but they might use them as projects. So their opportunity is a project, and they will have history associated with the project. They will have various different tasks that they've created against the project. If they're using service and help desk, they might have installation calls and help desk calls raised against that particular project. So it is quite a flexible application, and it can be used in many different ways. Moving forward again, let's say that we followed up the quote with Margaret. She's very happy with the quote, and she's going to get a purchase order over to us as we speak. So I'm firstly going to update the opportunity as, let's say, sales completed, and we'll mark it as 1, and we'll pop in a reason for reporting purposes. So we'll say we won against the competition, and we'll save that away. So what's the next step? Well, we actually want to create a sales ledger record for Margaret's company. Now, as a salesperson, I might be restricted from doing that. So what I might do is create an activity to send it to Janice over in accounts. I'm going to ask her to do all of the relevant credit checks and ask her to create the sales ledger record for Margaret at Hardcastle. So Janice would come into company processing. She'd pick up Hardcastle's record. She'd go into action and select create sales ledger record. Are we sure we want to do this? Yes, we are. She could enter in the correct account code to be in line with her sales ledger. She could enter in the terms and options. As you can see, I'm not doing it properly here, which is why we don't let salespeople do this. We'll just pop in some delivery details there. And there we can see sales ledger record has been successfully created. We'll say OK, and we can see that the record has been converted from a prospect through to a customer, and these fields are now greyed out, and that's because all of the maintenance is now going to be done within my financials. So if we close that down, we can go into the financials, into sales processing, where we can see the sales ledger record that we've just created for Margaret. And if we go into supply chain and into sales order processing, we can see that there is the quote that we generated for Margaret within sales pipeline management. And let's say as the purchase order comes through, I'm very simply just going to progress this through to an order. And there we can see it has been converted from a quote through to an order. So no rekeying required. It's pushed it through directly into our accounting system. No exporting data from one system into another, because it's all integrated and everything's all in the same place. So let's start to round off this session, and let's go back into sales pipeline management. And one area that we haven't talked about yet is the reporting side of things. We have lots of standard reports available for you. So let's start by having a look at the sales pipeline reports. One of the largest criteria forms that we have for reporting across Opera 3. What would I like to report on? Well, I'm going to say I'd like to sequence by my various different sales stages. What would I like? A standard Opera report, an Excel summary or an Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to ask it just to summarise the information and put it straight out into Excel for me. I'm also going to ask it to please include a graph. I'd like to save a copy and attach it to my record so I can refer back to it later on. And what do I actually want to see? Well, do I want to adjust the values for probability? Am I only interested in looking at my current pipeline, or do I want to include lost and won opportunities as well? And there we can see that we can really start to define what it is that we want to report on. We can drill down into individual groups of customers or internals if we want to. So let's say OK. And there we can see the summary report that it's put straight out into Excel for us, sequenced by sales stage, and it's also put in a graph for us automatically as well. Now, of course, if we'd asked for a full-blown Excel spreadsheet, all of the information on the opportunities would be exported directly out into Excel for us. And perhaps from a management point of view, you might want to take advantage of some of the calendars and task lists that we have available within SPM. So you can come in and easily see what each of your sales guys have been working on throughout the day. We might want to use the group calendar so we can easily identify where a group of our sales guys are on a particular day. We also have a sales opportunity view available, which is very useful for viewing your current pipeline. You can decide what it is that you want to view. You can set up your own levels and you can easily start to see your pipeline. All of this can be copied and pasted directly to Word or Excel. And we can also create some graphs of our pipeline from here as well. But don't forget that we've also got integration with XRL and another business intelligence tool called Pegasus Dashboards as well. So let's have a quick look at the dashboards so you can start to see how easy it is to view your current pipeline in real time. We can use the dashboards remotely, so we can log in over a standard internet browser such as Microsoft Internet Explorer. It is very secure, so users would need to have a user ID and password set up to allow them to log in. So let's log in as manager for today. And we can use the dashboards to monitor our KPIs, track sales performance. But from an individual sales user, I might want to set up a dashboard purely just to show me my sales pipeline. I might only want it to include charts that are relevant to my sales opportunities, and then I can start to build up a picture of my pipeline. I can easily see what I've got within my pipeline. I might want to view my current opportunities, so show me just the current opportunities that I have at the moment. This can easily be exported out into Excel for further manipulation if I so wish. And I might also have some user filters assigned, so I'm purely just restricted to viewing my own territory. So you can start to get an idea of the types of reporting tools that are available. Now, just before we round off this session, let's go back over into Opera. And I want to finish off showing you another area that as an individual user we may want to process from. So it's called SPM Today. It's very similar to Outlook Today. It's more of a centralised diary processing facility, if you like. So this is me, Kevin McAllister, and I'm currently viewing Today and Overdue. I can see any meetings that I have in my calendar for today. I can see any activities that I've got to do today. Anything that's in red is actually overdue. Anything that's in black is due today. So it might be that I'll log in the morning, I'll come straight into SPM, and then I can start to work through my activities, clearing them off as I go. I can see any opportunities that I've got logged within the system as well. I can see any quotes, and I can also see any orders that have gone on the system today as well. So there's the order that we put on for Hardcastle biscuits. And if I'm using service and help desk, I can also see any help desk calls and contract renewals that I may have as well. We can use SPM Today to process, so we can access any of the main processing records from here. And we've also got a contacts lookup as well. So perhaps if we've got, let's say James Miller on the phone, I can easily find his record. I can go down into his record. Yes, hello James. I can go into his history and I can see the letter that he's just received that he might be phoning up about. So just to start to conclude, we've had Quite a good run through some of the areas within the system today. There's many different ways that you might want to use the sales pipeline application. The key with it is the integration. Everything all in one place. Nothing's getting lost on a spreadsheet or an email somewhere, and there's no rekeying required. So everything can be pushed through to your financials. Quotes can be easily progressed through to an order. Your prospect records can purely exist within sales pipelines, that you don't have to go through and clog up your financials for those prospects that you haven't yet sold to. And we've looked at doing various tasks throughout the system. I hope you found this session useful. It is much more than just a contact management tool. It does a lot more than just help you to handle your relationships with your existing customers, suppliers and prospects. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. For further information, please contact your Pegasus partner or visit pegasus.co.uk and select Find a Partner.